Whether the food comes from your garden, the grocery store, or a restaurant, proper handling and storage ensures both the quality and safety. Sometimes it's not so obvious where a certain food product should be stored to maintain its quality. So here we'll dig into some of the most commonly misplaced ones and give you some answers to general fridge storage questions. What temperature should the fridge be? The fridge should be kept at maximum 4 degrees Celsius, and this should be checked regularly with a thermometer. Avoid packing too much in your fridge and allow space between items so that air can circulate and the refrigerator can function properly. How should you store food in the fridge? Some foods, especially raw, contain microbes that may cause illness. Luckily, these microbes are killed during cooking. Since microbe growth is slower at lower temperatures, raw meat, fish and poultry should be stored in sealed containers on the bottom shelf of your fridge, as this is usually the coolest part. Point 1. It's also important to keep cooked and ready-to-eat foods separated from raw foods and to wipe up spills immediately to stop microbes from spreading in the fridge. Good, general hygiene is important, so the food should be wrapped or in covered containers while storing it, and the fridge should be cleaned frequently. Can you put hot food in the fridge? No, it's better to avoid placing hot foods straight into the fridge as this will raise the temperature of the fridge. The raised temperature and condensation give good conditions for microbes to spread. Wait until the food has been cooled down to room temperature. Remember the 2-hour rule. Whether it's leftover, takeaway, or just bought, it's important to cool and place foods in the fridge within 2 hours to avoid microbes from spreading. If you want to cool the food a bit quicker, you can put it in a casserole in cold water. Make sure that the food is not completely covered so that excess heat and water vapor can easily escape. When it's cooled, it can be placed in an airtight container in the fridge. Point 3. Eat leftovers within 2-3 days. The exception is rice dishes, which should be eaten within 1 day. This is because rice can contain spores that survive cooking and grow into new bacteria, like Bacillus cereus, that produce toxins that can make you sick, if leftovers are not cooled quickly and stored properly. Point 4. 5. The longer cooked rice is kept, the more likely it is that the new bacteria or their toxins will make it unsafe to eat. Which food products should be stored in the fridge? Some foods provide good conditions for bacteria to grow. These are products that are moist, rich in nutrients and low in acid, especially if they are being stored in temperatures above 4 degrees Celsius. Point 6. This includes foods like meat, fish, cheese, dairy, and leftovers. Dry ingredients and foods can be stored at room temperature. You might have heard the saying, "One bad apple spoils the barrel." This saying is true, as it refers to the ethylene production and sensitivity of different fruits and vegetables. Some fruits and vegetables, like apples but also kiwis, apricots and bananas, produce a high amount of ethylene gas. Ethylene gas is linked to the ripening process of fruits and vegetables. Some fruits and vegetables, for example cabbage, carrots, asparagus and celery, are more sensitive to this gas than others and are therefore considered as ethylene sensitive. To keep the ethylene-sensitive fruits and vegetables from spoiling quickly, they should not be stored together with ethylene-producing fruits and vegetables. To keep the ethylene-sensitive fruits and vegetables from spoiling quickly, they should not be stored together with ethylene-producing fruits and vegetables. The following points provides guidance on some common food products and whether they should be stored in the fridge. 1. Avocados. Yes, you can store avocados in the fridge to help them last longer. If your avocados are ripe, storing them in the fridge can slow down the ripening process. If they're not yet ripe, you can leave them on the counter to ripen and then transfer them to the fridge once they're ripe to extend their shelf life. 2. Apples. Yes, apples can be stored in the fridge. Placing them in the refrigerator can help them stay fresh longer. Apples can be kept in the crisper drawer, away from other fruits and vegetables, as they can release ethylene gas, which can cause nearby produce to ripen and spoil more quickly. 3. Bananas. Yes, bananas can be put in the fridge. Storing them in the refrigerator can help slow down the ripening process, which is useful if you have bananas that are ripening too quickly and you want to extend their shelf life. However, refrigeration can also cause the banana peel to darken more quickly, although the fruit inside remains fine. If you prefer your bananas at room temperature, it's best to store them on the counter. 4. Bread. Yes, you can put bread in the fridge to help it stay fresh longer. However, refrigeration can make the bread go stale faster, so it's best to store it in an airtight bag or container to minimize exposure to air. If you plan to consume the bread within a few days, storing it at room temperature in a bread box or a cool, dry place should be fine. 5. Butter. Yes, butter can be stored in the fridge. Keeping butter in the fridge can help maintain its freshness and prevent it from spoiling. However, some people prefer to keep butter at room temperature for easier spreading. If you choose to keep butter at room temperature, it's best to use a butter dish with a lid to protect it from light and odors. Just make sure to consume it within a few days to prevent it from going rancid. 6. Cheese. Yes, cheese should be stored in the fridge to maintain its freshness and prevent it from spoiling. However, the optimal storage method can vary depending on the type of cheese. Hard cheeses like cheddar can be wrapped in wax paper or cheese paper and then placed in a plastic bag or airtight container. Soft cheeses like brie or camembert should be kept in their original packaging or wrapped in wax paper and then placed in a plastic bag or airtight container. It's important to avoid storing cheese in plastic wrap directly, as it can trap moisture and lead to mold growth. 7. Garlic. Yes, you can store garlic in the fridge. However, it's not necessary and can actually cause it to sprout more quickly. It's best to store garlic in a cool, dry place with good air circulation, such as a pantry or a kitchen cabinet. If you've already peeled or chopped the garlic, it's fine to store it in an airtight container in the fridge for a short period of time. 8. Lemons. Yes, you can store lemons in the fridge to help them stay fresh longer. Placing them in a plastic bag or airtight container can help prevent them from drying out. 9. Oranges. Yes, you can store oranges in the fridge. This can help prolong their freshness. Oranges can be stored in the crisper drawer of the refrigerator for up to 2 weeks. However, if you prefer them at room temperature, you can leave them out of the fridge for a few days without any issues. 10. Onions. Yes, you can store onions in the fridge, but it's not always necessary. Whole, unpeeled onions can be stored in a cool, dry, well-ventilated place, such as a pantry or cellar, for several weeks to a few months, depending on the variety. However, once an onion is cut, it should be stored in the fridge in a sealed container to prevent it from absorbing other odors and to keep it fresh for longer. Cut onions can last in the fridge for up to a week. 11. Pickles. Yes, you can store pickles in the fridge. Pickles can be stored in the refrigerator for an extended period, typically several months, especially if they are in a sealed container. This helps maintain their flavor and crispness. However, if you've canned pickles using a traditional canning method, they can be stored at room temperature until opened. Once opened, they should be refrigerated. Always check the specific instructions for the pickles you are storing, as different types may have different storage recommendations. 12. Potatoes. Yes, you can store raw potatoes in the fridge, but it's not the ideal storage method for long-term use. The cold temperature of the fridge can convert the starch in potatoes into sugar more quickly, affecting their taste and texture. It's best to store potatoes in a cool, dark, and well-ventilated place, such as a pantry or a cellar, away from onions. If you need to store them in the fridge, keep them in a paper bag to allow for some air circulation. 13. Eggs. Yes, eggs can be stored in the fridge. In many countries, it's common practice to store eggs in the refrigerator to maintain their freshness. The cool temperature helps to slow down the growth of bacteria and keeps the eggs fresh for a longer period. 14. Nuts. Yes, you can store nuts in the fridge to help maintain their freshness. Nuts contain oils that can go rancid over time, especially in warm conditions. Storing them in the fridge can slow down this process and help extend their shelf life. It's best to store nuts in airtight containers to prevent them from absorbing odors from other foods in the fridge. 15. Coconut. Yes, you can store a whole coconut in the fridge. It can help to keep it fresh for longer, especially if you live in a warm climate where coconuts might spoil more quickly at room temperature. Wrapping the coconut in a plastic bag or cling film can help prevent moisture loss and keep it from absorbing other odors in the fridge. Like, share and subscribe for videos.